Look, we're really excited to have you here. Obviously, the world has been the world, but what I wanted to commit to today was it's almost like a bit of reverse bingo if we can. So, some things we're not going to say. COVID. Pandemic. I just said it, okay. You've been talking to my daughter. That's the same kind of thing she'd say. We won't use the term unprecedented. We'll try not to use it. I know, I'm seeing you disappointed by that. But what we are going to do is share a lot. We've got a lot of the Squiz team here, and we've got a really exciting agenda today for you. You're going to hear a little bit about the digital space, especially when it comes to digital experiences, where we're at, what the market's doing. You're going to hear how Squiz has been evolving, how we've been capitalising on the last few years, and what we're doing to better align to your needs and your customers' needs. We've got some really exciting product announcements around things that are just around the corner, and Julie Brettle, our Chief Product Officer, will be sharing that a little bit later. And we've got some great customer stories and examples for you to hear about too. Hopefully some inspiration there to take back to your workplaces. Now, during the afternoon, of course, we've also got breakout sessions for developers, for editors and UX, and also some strategy sessions. If you haven't chose your session yet, make sure you take a look at the agenda that you've been given, and you'll be able to choose which one you want of those. Now, throughout the afternoon, you may also have some questions about our products, or maybe you've got maybe something you've been wondering about your products that you'd like to find out. Pop the hood. We have our Genius Bar over on the side there. During any of the breaks, come on over. We'll have Squiz experts on hand, happy to answer any of your product questions and help you out there. Also, if you do have questions throughout today, a couple of ways you can get those questions. We're using Slido. You can either take a photo of the QR code, that'll get you right where you need to be, or go to slido.com and enter the code that you can see there. We'll be answering those questions both online and also in person throughout the afternoon. All right, well, let's get into things. I'm really excited to announce and let you know today that we have a couple of Australian team here. They've travelled over and they've got some really great messages to share. One of those people is our founder and executive chairperson, John Paul Syriatowicz. Please welcome him up now to tell you a little bit more about the digital experience challenges we're having at the moment. And challenges.
Give me that. Thank you, Nick. What a wonderful room. Feels like great energy in here, as you said. It's good to be all together, having a live event. Welcome to everyone who's streaming in. Oh, there's the camera. Who's streaming in and watching the event at the same time. Now, I've got a relatively short presentation, only around about 10 minutes, and I've got two big goals to try to achieve through the preso. I want to get us all aligned around two terms that I think we might all have different views on. The first is DXP, obviously an acronym for Digital Experience Platform. What on earth is a DXP? What do we mean by that when we say that term? It's helpful if we're aligned because we're going to use that throughout the presentations today, and if we have a different definition, that's going to make things go slowly. The second is the term composable or composability. It's an important term. I'm not sure how familiar everyone is. We're going to come back to that in a little while. It's a trend that is changing the way this industry works, and I think it's really important we understand what that could mean for what we do. So let's start by talking about DXP. What is it, and what's the best way to explain that? I thought we could start by comparing it with something we're all familiar with, content management. So we've all been exposed to the world of content management through various products in the past. Hopefully many of you use Matrix. I know some people here have been introduced to Squiz through Funnelback. But content management was a tool set that evolved to make it really easy to publish content to the web. Content and to the web. And it was good at being able to do that. It helped organisations that might have not very technical people in them be able to create and manage content in a way that they could apply consistent designs, control permissions, workflows, and ensure that the quality of what they were publishing online would represent the organisation well. However, the world began to change and content management was no longer enough. The world began to change in two key ways. The first is we started to get a range of new channels that we needed to engage with. For example, mobile devices, tablets, and being able to publish out to things like social, use email, and somehow coordinate the way those different channels work together. So that was one big bit. The second big bit is that people expected much more of what they could do online. So content by itself was not enough. They expected some sort of transactional arrangement when you move online. I want to be able to buy something, self-serve, take advantage of personalization to make my experience easier. Now at that point, content management is not quite enough, and we began to shift and begin to use digital experience management as a term. So you're now trying to worry about experiences because you're going to different channels and you're doing more than just publishing content. Now obviously things have evolved further to this idea of platform. What on earth do I mean by that? So let's explore this with 5 core things that are important to be able to do in the current world of digital experience management, and how can we make these 5 core things easier to do. So I represent these in this circle with the idea of, at the core of it, the promise of a DXP. So if a content management system was a tool set that made it easy for you to publish online, a DXP should make it easy to do 5 different things. Let's go through them in turn. The first is it should make, we're going to suffocate if you anyway. The first is it should be easier for us to publish a range of different types of experiences. So we're no longer publishing just websites, although we still need to do that. And we need to be able to publish different types of websites. So they might be large ones with lots of content, or we might be able to very quickly spin up a new site, for example, a campaign site. We need to do interactive things where people can self-serve, like make a portal or an intranet, which might include a high degree of personalization. Now, I could buy different tools for each of these things, but it creates complexity when I do that. For the start, it slows me down. If I needed to be able to spin one of these things up fast and do it, I have to go through a whole vendor selection process, pick a new tool, and then I have to start to deal with the issues of what happens to the fact that my content is now potentially siloed in a range of different systems and how I manage them. Obviously, being able to ensure that the experience is consistent across those different channels is important too. These different experiences is important too. So things like design systems and other frameworks for making sure the overall experience, look and feel, and the way we interact is important. So the first thing a DXP should do is make it easy for you to create a range of different types of digital experiences. The second thing a DXP should do, and I mentioned this already, is help you be able to publish to different channels and engage with those channels. Not just pushing content out, but also making sure that the experience that's had as you engage those different channels is of equivalent quality. I think we understand that it's a poor experience when you start to engage with an organization through one channel. Maybe you're using a mobile device, for example, and you begin some sort of interaction, and then you decide to swap to a larger screen, your desktop or a laptop or something along those lines, and you find it's not the same. The content is different. I might have to re-enter information. Just move out of the, hopefully the echo will be a little bit less. I might have to re-enter content, and if, in fact, what would be even worse is if there's just different information that's available for me because there were 2 completely different systems that were used to build that digital, those 2 different digital experiences for those different channels. So the second thing a DXP should do, not only help me build different types of experiences, it's when I publish them to different channels, how do I keep them in lockstep and meet the expectations in a way of users in a way that makes them feel like it's still the same organization, the same interaction that I'm having. The third is, of course, personalization. So people expect these days much more that as you deal with an organization, that interaction serves up the information that's relevant to you quickly. So there's 2 key use cases for personalization. One is being able to sell things more effectively. I think we're familiar with that. That's the idea. If you can personalize, you might be able to persuade someone to be able to purchase what you want. But the second is improving usability. So personalization used well can improve the usability of your digital experiences because you can anticipate need and serve what people might want. The fourth, it crosses a little bit over with personalization, but it's a really important one in terms of organization value and customer value, is self-service. This is where a lot of digital transformation benefit comes in. If you can help individuals self-serve online, you're meeting their expectation. They're going, great, you've made my life easy. I got to do it the way I wanted to. But the organization itself gets huge efficiency bonuses. So they're saying, aha, because we didn't have to pay for people to organize these things, we went directly to the core systems underneath. That's where you get digital transformation benefits. That self-service is a huge benefit. Now, this is also really a point where it's worth calling out. We've come a long way away from content by this point. So something like self-service is about integrating with other systems, and it's about being able to manage workflows and transactions through those systems. It's a long way away from just content management. So you need a range of tools to make that possible. And then finally, as I already alluded to before with content management, one of the things that it did is it helped you manage the quality of what you built. So it had things like permissions and workflows to being able to control what you published. It helped you manage the overall solution. In the world of a DXP where you have a lot more integrations as part of the overall solution, how do you govern that well? How do you govern a solution that's publishing to different channels, has personalization, has integrations with other systems? There are different requirements in doing it well. So as a result, tool sets have to evolve, and with these new features that help you from an experience, channels, personalization, I'm just trying to do this from memory, self-service and governance point of view, that together they add up to the idea of the promise of a DXP. Should have just advanced a slide, shouldn't I? It would have been a little bit easier. Okay, so that's the first definition that I wanted to deal with. What's a DXP? Hopefully we have a common understanding of what we mean by that when we say DXP. The second, the last bit, is what do we mean by composability? So I'm keen, has anyone heard the term composable in the context of digital experience? There's only a few and a couple of squiz hands going up as well. Not very many. Okay, so I'm going to make a prediction. You're going to hear this word a lot more. It's an important trend that changes the way that we build solutions and what you can actually do in the digital experience place. What does it mean? Well, a definition is the ability to bring different services together to compose new offerings. Now, I know that's still esoteric. You go, what do you mean by services? How are you bringing them together? But at least it's an accurate definition to start with. I'm going to explain by what I mean by services first, and then it should make a little bit more sense. So what's a composable DXP? You need three things to come together. The first is you need to understand what services are. So in this context, I mean the tools that you use for being able to build your digital experience. So you need tools that help you control the way you manage presentation and publishing, not surprisingly. Tools that manage things like authentication and permissions, who's allowed to do what, how do you log on to the core systems. Tools that help you manage content and data, things that help you integrate with systems, help you manage personalization, help you find things, manage workflow. That's not a comprehensive list, right? I'm just using that as a list to give you an idea of what I mean when I say services. Now, they could be separate products. They don't have to be the same product. So in Squiz's language, you would know when we look at this that we treat search as a product. We treat content, Matrix as a content management system. That's its own product. We have something called Data Store that I don't know if you're all familiar with. We will talk about it a little bit more. But data is its own tool as well. And integration, we have something called Connect that manages that as well. So these can be separate products. And one way of you being able to approach building digital experience is to choose separate products. But there is complications that come from that. You want to make it really easy for these things to work together, or it slows you down on what you can build. And so that's where the P in platform comes in. If you can make these things work together smoothly, you have a platform. What do I mean by work together smoothly? If these separate services can feel like they're all a part of one product, even if you're not necessarily using all of them, you begin to get a true platform. And when I say work together smoothly so they all feel like they're part of the same product, what do I mean? Well, the first thing is they all need to be properly compatible with each other. Like, you don't want to have any issues plugging them in. That just should happen straight away. They should, if I'm doing something like setting permissions on one element, it should work across all of the other elements straight away. And then it feels like it's part of the same system, as an example. Another thing that you should be able to do on a platform is if I build something by using these different things together, I want to be able to export that, or maybe take one that someone else has made already and take advantage of it. So let's say someone had built a portal, as an example, and the portal took advantage of the fact that I publish content and I've got data and a range of integrations that I might want to use, and I'm using search across it. So I'm using a range of these different services, which can be different products, but I want to be able to take that and know that I can use that implementation again. Makes things go a lot faster for me if I'm able to do that. That's part of everything feeling like a platform. And then third, I want to be able to manage all of these things in some way. So I want to be able to look at things like an audit trail, for example, or I want to be able to understand the performance of how they're working together. So if I see some problem in the overall user experience, I go, where is the core of that? What portion of the way the system operates together is the source of that concern? And what do I need to do to be able to optimize and improve that? If you have that control and that visibility across all the elements, you have a platform. Now, I said I was going to define composable as a term, and I haven't actually spoken about that. Where does that fit in? Composable is the idea that you can, first of all, add new services. So this is a definition. If you look up what does composable mean, many people will say it's about being able to use best of breed technologies. That's actually only part of the definition of composable. And when I say add new services, that means things like I might want to use a ticketing engine. I might want to use a different type of payment gateway. I might want to use an AI translation engine. There's all sorts of amazing things that will translate text for videos automatically, for example. There's a whole range of digital tools that are out there that you might be able to say, I want to take those and make them part of the digital experience that I'm building. So the first part of the definition of composable is, if I've got these things that come as the platform, is it easy for me to add new ones as part of what I'm building? And can I manage those components in the same way as I'm managing these bits? If I do that, I've got a truly composable DXP. But there's one step that goes a little bit further, and we think this is one of the areas where Squiz is a bit different to the way we approach composability from a platform and a true source of value. And that is, you should be able to substitute these core services. In other words, if you're saying, I want to be able to manage the digital experience and I don't want to use Squiz's content management system because I've already got another one. Or actually more likely, I've already got 4 other ones. There are plenty of organizations that says, I have multiple content management systems or other repositories that I've got content in. Can I still manage a digital experience across that environment? If you use Funnelback, you already know that this has been part of Squiz's philosophy for a long time. So what Funnelback lets you do is it says it doesn't matter where you put your content. It can be in different places. We will index it and turn it into a single digital experience for you so people can find what they want from one place. That's why we've added an integration platform and why we've added a data service as part of what we wanted, what we're doing. We're going to show you some of the new things that are coming in the future that enhance this direction of what we're doing. Together, they add up to the idea of a composable DXP. So you can do all of the things around the outside easily with the tool sets and the services that come in the core, and you can do more by adding additional services or substituting services that might be part of your current DXP. Right, so those are the 2 definitions. Hopefully I've got everyone's attention. I can still feel the air conditioning hasn't gone on yet, so everyone's struggling. I will now go and chase that up. But before I do, I'd like to introduce Gavin, who likes to be known as Gav Dumsday. Gav is Squiz's Chief Operating Officer and Chief Financial Officer, which means he runs absolutely everything. And Gav will do a fine job of connecting what I've just said, which is a whole lot of theory at this level, to the practical. What are the things that you need to do to make that happen? And we'll then follow on. I think we're getting close to each other with mics. We'll then follow on with some examples of what we've actually delivered in terms of customer projects. Thank you very much. Over to you, Gav.
We're not just close together in mics, like we're close together, JP and I. So standing out in the green room, I'm like, I don't know what's going on in there, but it looked really clever, looked really smart. We are very blessed by having the kind of insight that we get from JP. He's a thought leader in the industry. He's still very much passionate every single day about the organisation and about the space that we're in. And we have this this dream, this composable DXP that JP speaks about, that we're all trying to fulfill, that we're all trying to realise and make sure that we can achieve. And so I kind of think, you know, what's the best way to sort of start? And I think this is a ball pit. Anyone been in a ball pit before? Ball pit at a kids thing? Yeah, that's not a real child. That's an AI generated child, just so in case anyone's worried about us harming kids. I've got a tip, right? Like what you don't do when you go to a ball pit, you don't run up and jump straight into the middle, right? Has anyone ever made that mistake? Okay, when you do that, you struggle and you have fun for a while and then you can't get out. You know, like after a while, you start feeling like you're going to drown in the ball pit. All right, you're laughing because you've done that. Did you do that on the weekend? So it just gets harder and harder and harder, and you look to the side and you think, I can't get there, right? I've been dealing with software for 30 years, and a lot of times software feels like that. Who has that feeling? Like not necessarily now, but sometimes you feel like you just can't get through, right? It's a real struggle. And you feel like, oh my God, am I ever going to get through this? And that promise of a DXP that JP spoke about, it can feel so unattainable, right? Like it feels like you're this guy on this tech stack, like, and it's impossible, and you've got to get up, over, and to the other side, and you don't know how to get there. And so all of that stuff that JP speaks about, which was an industry talk. He wasn't really talking about Squiz, and I'm not sure, with the door shut, I'm not sure whether he captured that, but he's talking about the space and the industry that we're in and what you need to be able to have in order to fulfill your great digital experiences for your customers. But getting there can feel almost impossible. Okay, and we have that feeling. And so you don't just stay in the ball pit or just stay stuck, behind the mountain. You don't do that. You've got to get out, right? You've got to do something, because your organization, I talked to quite a lot of you today, and when we were in Sydney, like, you've got bosses who are like, we need to do better. We need to get more students. I want more automation in government. And they're at you, and you've got to solve the problem. So you can't stay stuck. You have to do something. So what are your options? Okay, so the first option is, we call it go only niche. So it's not go, it's go only niche. So you only use niche everything. So you see a problem, find a bit of software that solves the problem. Have another problem, get some more software, solve that problem, and on you go. So for example, you might need a portal. And so a company comes to you and all they do is portals. They're great at it. So you go, great, I'll get that portal. Put that in, and you put it in, it goes in quickly, you deploy it quickly, great experience, super quick, and then, so you solve the problem. And then 6 months later you go, oh my God, our search doesn't work right across the portal and across the whole website. So we've solved this problem of I need a portal, and we've created this other problem of a really inconsistent experience for the students. There are so many of these. We can talk more on the break, but there are so many of these. See a problem, solve a problem. Okay, so that doesn't work, right? Like, that might feel like it works for a while. Sooner or later, like, I have this kind of image of, you take a step back, you look at this thing you've created, and it's like Frankenstein's monster. Like, what is that tech stack that we've got, right? Impossible to work with. So no, so we're like, so Squiz is like, that's a bad idea. Just going only bespoke, only niche. So then you go, okay, so you listen to the JP talk, right? And you go, okay, well, I got it. We need a platform to make all of the experiences consistent and to be able to look at the experience end to end and make sure I can analyze it and deploy it and assess it. And okay, I got it. In fact, there's a part that I'm personally quite passionate about, which is offensive to some in the sense that we deploy a new solution with it, when we do it, it's like a hypothesis, right? It's not finished, is it? Like, we pretend it's not finished. You need to keep evolving it. It's going to need to get better in 6 months or a year or 2 years. It needs to keep getting better, or your needs change. What are you going to change it with? How do you get the insights? You need a platform, right? We can talk a lot about that. You take that from a bit from JP, so you go, okay, got it. Need a platform. Who's got platforms? I know. I'll go to the big company. I'll get a platform from them. The big Californian tech company. I'll go and get it. Now I'm on a platform, right? So I'm not niche, not only niche, I'm that. It can take forever, but you can also, you get stuck. So you're on this big platform and then you go, but hang on, I need to bring in a learning management system, or I need to bring in different personalization capability. Once you start doing that, as JP said, it needs to feel like it's all on the same platform. Once you start doing it, it's not feeling like it's all on the same platform anymore. All of a sudden, you're not able to look at your end-to-end experience and optimize. You're back stuck again. And we go, like, we don't like that. Like, that's an awful thing. Even if you use every single piece of software on that supplier, you've got this big re-platforming thing. Who's done that before? Like, the big re-platform. I've done it. Like, it can take years. Like, the big re-platform, you take on all this cost, all this risk, and you don't even get there in the end. Like, you don't solve the problems that you're trying to solve. So when Squiz takes that challenge that JP laid out for the industry, we don't like these cornering solutions that a lot in the industry push people into. We have this concept. This concept actually came from our product and engineering people, not from marketing, right? It came from our product and engineering people. You come as you are. Bring the tech stack that you have. Like, you've got a lot of old stuff, and as the engineers point out, lots of new as well, like old and new capability, you bring it all. You bring the whole lot and you don't get forced to re-platform. But you also bring your skills. It's not just the tech stack. We believe that developers, editors, content producers should be able to bring the skills that they have without forcing to need to change. That's the belief. Now, this is a passionate part of our organisation, that you can deploy fast and that you're not trapped. When we come up with something new, like you're going to hear some announcements of new stuff today, when we do that, we don't want to force you to go SaaS to use it. We think you should be SaaS, but we don't want to impose that on you. So our engineering and product people fight really hard to not do the forcing. In fact, the most passionate things you'll see at Squiz is watch a sprint review where the team will sit down, have a huge debate, and they'll say, no, 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 that outcome is not letting people, they don't really all the time use come as they are, but they paraphrase it, right? No, that's forcing. No, that's not letting people use the tech stack that they have. That's locking people out. Well, that's forcing a re-platform. Now I think I've been a buyer for 30 years. That is awesome. Like, it's an awesome mindset for an organization to have. That is in the very DNA of this place. It drives everything that we do. Okay, so come as you are with what you already have. Everybody here who is a customer of Squiz has access to our DXP. You have access to it, right? You're all using a little bit of it now. If you're a Funnelback customer, you're using parts of the DXP. It might be Matrix as well, might have Connect, might have Data Store. You are using parts of the DXP. As you add more of the services that Squiz has, you're just using more of the DXP. It's not a re-platform for you. You're just using more. As we add more, so the announcements that Julie's going to make today, the things that we're building, that we're adding, you can add them as well, right? You can add them without creating the new problems. So you remember before I said, you can go to a portal supplier, you can buy the portal, you solve a problem, you create another problem. That's not the experience, right? Because you can come as you are. So this will all be automatically available to everybody, all of you, very early next year. Okay, you'll all have access to it. But the ball pit analogy stays. So I'll come back to that at the end. Just remember that I say we don't want to throw you back in the ball pit. So just because you can have access to it doesn't mean that you should just jump in, and I'll explain how we think we can help you. Okay, so it all leads to these concepts. You try what you like. So just not forcing, you can try what you like. You can choose the products that you need, that suit you, or not. You can just say, we don't want those. You pay for what you use. So one of the things that many of our people in our company hate is the organisation forces people to buy, not the organisation, the industry forces people to buy stuff that they don't need, that they don't use. So there's passionate about this. Now these points are not, all of these points are not slogans. They are principles. So take the pricing one, the pay for what you use. That is a principle ingrained in the way that our pricing people create and are creating prices for the products. It's not a tagline. Okay, the trials that I speak about that you can have, those trials are how the product and engineering crew are creating access for you. It's not for the fun of it. It's not for a tagline. It's a principle that drives how we operate. Okay, so we have this desire for you to come as you are with the world's most composable DXP. So just park the world's bit, like the world's huge ambition. Park that for a sec. Composable DXP. So what JP explained, kind of think of it like JP spends most of his time now, and so do a number of other people at Squiz, thinking about the industry and where is it, and where's it heading, and how does it help you, okay? So we go, got it, got the brief, that's what we're building, okay? It's not something else. That's very, very connected into how we're building. So we want you to be able to bring the benefits of a platform, bring in different pieces of software as you like, and have it all stitched together as if though it's the same thing. Okay, and I'll talk a little bit more. But the worlds. So what do we say about that? So the way that we think about it, this is a space that the whole organisation is hugely fired up about. Composability is a lot more than this piece of software talks to this piece of software. That is integration, okay? That is not composability. That's a point JP made. That's a point I will make. Anyone in Squiz will talk at length with you about this. It's not the same thing. That's just integration. True composability is that you can swap services in and out. So grab a service, swap it in and out, and manage it as if though it's all the same product, right? That's true composability. So you create an experience, and with your platform, you can look at the whole experience for all of the software. Say you've got 5 pieces of software from Squiz and 5 from someone else, all in your DXP, all in your digital experience creation. That needs to be looked at end to end. That, if you can look at it end to end, if you can swap in and out, that is true composability. Okay? We think you as a digital group, we as an industry, cannot fulfill the promise of a DXP without that. Now, we're not there yet. We're not finished. So we're not at the point where we've got brilliantly composable stuff finished. But what we have got is a lot. And more importantly, as I was explaining to a couple of people this morning, this is how we build, right? This is how we operate. This is everything that goes into the way this company is architecting its solutions now comes from these principles. And I said to someone, like, when you're partnering with someone, you're not just thinking about the capability. I did this as a buyer. When you're partnering with someone, you're not just thinking about the capability that they have today. You're thinking about what's driving where they're heading. This is what's driving where we're heading. So I have this sort of view, you know, you can't be a software vendor, right? Like us. You can't be like us, wake up one day and say, ta-da, we're composable now, right? Like, it doesn't work like that. You can't be a software business and buy this business, buy another company, slap a sticker on the front, call it the same thing and say, yep, it's all composable. That's a trick. And it's a trick that the industry plays. That is not true composability. So we are so close to this that we can touch it. We're getting closer and closer to it over the next 9 months, and it's at the very heart of what we do. So that's composability. You can see that we could talk about that forever, but just being composable is not enough. Like, what is being composed, right? It's got to fulfill the promise. So these 5 things, you'll see them kind of consistently referenced throughout the day. The 5 things of personalization and so on, the 5 promises of a DXP. So we've got the brief, we know we've got to fulfill it. Okay, so today, I'm just going to give you high level here, super high level of what we're doing. Nick is going to unpack what we already are able to do today and with examples. And then Julie's going to announce what's coming, but only what's coming soon, only what we're building now. Nothing that's in a PowerPoint somewhere. There's plenty of that, as there is in every company, but we're not talking about that today. It's a rule that we're following. So, personalization. Today, a lot of personalization requires dev skills. So anyone who uses Squiz, you've got to be a dev to be able to do the personalization. You can get there, but we need to unlock the marketers. We need to unlock the people who have to do the personalization. That's what Julie is going to announce today. Really good, complex business logic. Okay, so say you're a university and you want to find a student who has a low GPA average, say less than 2, less than 1.5, hasn't been on the website for like a week, maybe late with their assignments, so you're stringing these complex business rules together. Okay, you're going, these are ands. Right, you want to string that together and you want to be able to create a treatment for that, right? Or you might just want to analyze it if you work in student success. So say you're a university, that is going to be possible, super, super quick, and you won't need devs. That is what we're building. So I think I spoke to someone just before. They've got very consistent level of workforce. They don't have the capacity to just keep going I need 2 more devs. I need 3 more devs. Like, but the needs are going up and up and up. Did JP talk about that? Your needs are keep going up. So we are doing things to make it so that you can do more with the same level of resource. That's the goal, right? So that's what that does. That's way better for marketers and for comms people. Channels. Okay, so channels. So we've got great tools today that let you bring in data, turn it into the format that's needed, push it out into whatever channel you like. Really, really efficient, great tools for that. We want to make it easier. We want to put stuff into Marketplace so that people who are not technical can do that and do it quickly again. So all the same, you see these same messages pumping through all of these things. Self-service, more is coming. You're announcing some stuff on forms today. So Julie, do you want to put your hand up because I keep referencing you? This is Julie, our CPO. So Julie is making some announcements today. So where you can do conditional logic in forms. So so conditional logic might be, so conditional logic is the next question you're presented with depends on your answer to the previous question, right? So really cool stuff. Need to be able to do it if you're in comms and marketing. Don't want that to take forever. You also want to often put in payment options. So I don't know, people, it's a very common request from our people. You want to put payment options in. You can do it in minutes, very soon. That today would take too long. That soon is, now you don't need to be a dev. It can be in marketing, it can be in comms. You can build that really super quick. So awesome innovations coming. Governance, we do a lot already, like a lot. We've pumped enormous amounts of money. If you're on Squiz Cloud, enormous amounts of money and effort into stabilizing all the data centers. We've got 6 data centers globally, put a lot in. We also partner with AWS. Obviously, there's a session later with them. We use a lot of their capability, WAF through Cloudflare, enormous amounts of secure stuff that we've got going on today. There's a session that you can join later on for that. And performance is like very important. So, and by performance, I mean the speed of the tools that you're using. So again, the performance, when you start adding more and more services in a neutral environment, you can get slower. What we're doing and the way we're building, you will add more and more services and you'll get faster and faster. Not because you're adding more, but because the way we're architecting is dramatically improving speed. So if you use Matrix and you think it's not as quick as you want, it's going to get quicker and quicker and quicker because of the way we're architecting. If you're actually interested in that, Greg, can you put your hand up? So Greg's been at Squiz for 22 years, built Matrix 20 years ago, has watched it evolve all the way through, is re-architecting large parts of the way we do things just for speed. You won't even notice it, just going to get quicker and quicker and quicker. Okay, because we know you've got to do a lot. It's all coming from the same space. It might feel like different initiatives. You've got to do a lot with the same, or even in some cases, less resources. We're trying to unlock you. The thing that I think beyond all of this, I don't know if this is my favorite thing that we're doing. The thing that is absolutely amazing, they laugh at me when I say this, but we're unleashing the devs, right? Unleashing the devs. So who's a dev here, or who has been a dev? Okay, you've been a dev. So for devs who work at Squiz and work in a lot of different places, you can end up feeling somewhat beholden to the tech, right? You've got to be a Matrix expert. And that's the case in many different places, or you've got to use a very specific JavaScript framework in other organizations. Those days are over. Okay, so today we're making I'm not allowed to make any announcements, am I? You make the announcements. I'm not allowed to make it. I'm just so excited about it. So today we're announcing like the game changes for devs. Like it's changed. There was before this thing, and then there's after this thing, right? And your world is going to be amazing. So you'll be able to build components. How much of your thunder can I steal? You'll be able to build components locally in your own setup. You build one on a plane to London if you're flying with me. Like you can test it, you can put it back in super quick, and you can do some really cool stuff, right? It's like what the guys have done is absolutely amazing. It means you're kind of uncoupled. So you're not chained to the content editor. You can move super quick. The editor, by the way, you're not chained to them either. So if you're like, that's a good thing, okay? And I think it's like the coolest thing. So we're doing a session. If you love that space, Greg Sherwood's doing a session with Hugh later on. It's awesome. And if you want more of it after today, get more of it. Like, this space is going to be amazing. So you see, all of it is designed to try and help unlock you. That's what we're doing. Help you move faster, help you solve the problems that you've got, let you come as you are. What I didn't say about the developer thing, if you don't want it, if you're a dev and you love Matrix, because there are devs who are just like, I don't want to change, I love this. They built it so that you didn't have to change, right? That was a big fight they had. Should we force everyone to move? You don't have to. The way they've architected it, you come as you are. You see how it's real, right? If you like Matrix exactly as it is, keep using it. If you want to use the new service that Julie's going to announce today, I nearly named it, you're going to use the new service, do that too. We think you'll want to, but you can come as you are. Right? That's everything about how we're operating comes from there. Okay, remember that last slide, sorry, talked for a long time. Remember the ball pit. Remember I said I'd come back? So we can let you trial things. We could unlock you today. The account management crew, customer success, they could give you access to all the tools in the DXP and you could play with them. We think that's throwing you back in the ball pit, right? We don't propose you do that. So lots of our customers go, can I trial this? Like, you could. Every time we do it, it ends up not giving the best experience. This is what we advise. This is what we recommend. We recommend, where necessary, digital deep dive, right? What happens at a digital deep dive? So we've got all of these people who are amazing. Developers, solution architects, we've got great UX people, migration experts, customer success people who help you learn how to use the tools. Awesome amounts of people who can help you. Depending on where you're at, some combinations of them can help you in a digital deep dive. Go, okay, all this stuff that Julie and Nick are talking about, that you learn about in the breakout sessions, I want to learn more. But as I said before to some people outside, this is very generic. We're covering stuff in a very generic way. Like, you need to understand it as it pertains to you and your tech stack and where you are and what your goals are. So what we do at a digital deep dive is we go, okay, this is the tech stack as it makes sense to you. And we give you more deep dive on the product, hear from you about where you are, where you want to head, build a plan together. Some of our deep dives are a couple hours. We ran a deep dive for a very big university in America not long ago that went a week. Right, so it just depends on what you need to do. At the end of it, because you can come as you are, you might just go, mate, all I want, do my tickets quicker, right? That's fine. Or you might go, I want to make a start on personalization and I don't know how to begin. And you start and we do some very, very basic personalization things with you. So I highly encourage, like, there's a lot to think about. There's a lot that we're going to go through. I've been through it a few times. At the end, I'm like, I want to chat. You know, if I'm a university or a government organization or whoever I am, I want to chat about me and about how you can help me. And so that's why I would encourage you to take that up. And I know I must be miles over? Anyway, so thank you very much. Hope you have a great day.
Thanks, Gav. Hopefully you can see the energy that's going through our organisation at the moment. We're really excited. So you've had JP and Gav talk about this promise of a DXP, right? And that's exciting. But what we can do today, let's talk about stuff we can actually be doing right now. So let's talk about that. Today I'm going to do a couple of things. I'm going to recap very quickly on what our DXP looks like. I'm going to take a bit of a deep dive into templates, into design systems, portals, and I'm going to get 10 customer examples. And I've been given 15 minutes. Someone's got a clock? Let's start. Okay, so we're all familiar with various versions of our DXP. For most of you, you've probably got Funnelback or Matrix as part of your product stack. But actually, we haven't done this in a while, so maybe you don't know about some of the other things that are in our technology. Maybe you haven't heard of them, maybe you haven't used them. Let's have a look. First of all, we've got Connect. Connect is Squiz's iPaaS, Integration Platform as a Service. And what does it do? Well, it helps take third-party data from one system and ingest it into your digital experience platform. It allows you to, using APIs in this really beautiful, low-code, easy graphical user interface, to be able to create connections between the systems that you have, whether that's a CRM, maybe a student record system, maybe a learning management system. And the great thing is, we know the systems that you're using day to day, and so we've already got the connectors built. Salesforce, Dynamics, learning management systems, those connectors are already available for you to connect, download, and plug straight in. Data store. Data store is how developers aggregate data and then make it usable as a service. It's really great at accelerating things like personalization and things like self-service. It is a developer tool, so you've got to have a little bit of nerd to you. But one of the great things about that as well is that we know the systems, we know the data that you're trying to connect. And so we've already got a whole range of pre-built data recipes that you can pick off the shelf and get starting quicker. And finally, we've got our marketplace. So when you're creating a platform like this and lots of reusable components, it makes sense to have those in a library in a single spot. And so all of the templates, all of the portals, all of the things you're hearing about today, they actually live in our marketplace and they're there and you can download them today. So that's our DXP. Now we know a little bit about that, let's go back to our DXP capabilities matrix. And what I want to do today is we've been talking about where we're going and where the future of promise is within that DXP promise. But actually there's some things here we can talk about right now. In particular, let's start with experiences, what we're all trying to create for our end users. And when you do have a platform like this, JP implied that there's a couple of things you're really trying to get efficiency from when you're using a digital experience platform. You want to be able to deliver at speed. You want to make sure that you're able to do it in an easy way. And you want to make sure that you're getting that high quality every single time, the consistency that allows you to get efficiency through deployment. Well, one way we've been doing that really successfully for a few years is with templates. You might be familiar with Neo. It's one of our templates from an earlier generation, and it was great at really quick deployments. The problem with it though, customization. So if you're happy for it to look how it looked and have the features it had, fantastic. But when you wanted to customize, that's where we got a little bit stuck. We realized that experience, functionality, design were really hard to pull apart. Now Julie's going to share a little bit about our future generation templates in a moment. And I won't steal her thunder, no more than Gav already has. But I will talk a little bit about our current generation of templates, things that you can be using right now with Matrix 5, Funnelback 15, or any of our new tech to be accelerating the experiences for your users. When you think about a website, you think about all those kind of components that you need that are kind of the peripherals. Things like headers and footers, things like breadcrumbs, things like accordions. You need them, but the innovation, they can only go so far. And if you're rebuilding them over and over and over, it feels like a lot of wasted effort. You'd rather be spending that time and that effort into really high value components, into the things in your website that will make a difference for your users. And we think that too. So that's why we created Skeleton. I've got a 3-year-old boy who is Duplo and Lego obsessed. Does anyone here have a love for Lego? Early days, yeah? Yeah, good. I look at Skeleton a lot like a bucket of Lego, right? Lots of components, lots of bricks that are pre-built, but they need to be turned into something. And so using those components, building them into the template that you see here. If you want a big yellow box, you can place that in. If you want a couple of smaller ones, you can drop them in. So that wireframe feel, that kind of bucket of Lego, is a really great way to build experiences. You can then layer your own design over the top, your own logo, your own look and feel, and you've got that website, a great template option. And that's quick. But sometimes you need to go even quicker. Sometimes you need a website with a pre-built design ready to go. And we've thought about that too. This is Raptor. Raptor is a pre-designed, ready to apply your colors, ready to apply your content and get built template. It's the next stage of Lego. It's like Lego with the little how to build the spaceship in there already. And the beauty of these is because they're available, you can come as you are. Take them using your current tech, take them using your current design, implement these templates straight away. And so here they are, Squiz presenting them. That looks great, right? But let's actually see them out in the wild. Let's see them in customer situ. So one of the great things about Squiz is that we do have a global footprint. We have customers right around the world. And when you're looking for perspective, different ways to do things, maybe how in your sector something's being done in the States, maybe how it's being done in Australia or New Zealand, we've actually got a wide variety of customer examples we can share. And so what I'm going to do today is showcase some of our international examples, and I hope there's some perspective or some different thoughts in here that you might be able to take on. Okay, so we're building a website. Let's think about what that process traditionally looks like. You're going through discovery and design and UX, UAT, and then kind of some QA on top of that. It's a process that sometimes can feel quite arduous, especially when you're getting into that quality control, functionality checks. It can take months and months, right? Well, here's two local government examples from Australia and New Zealand that have taken our Raptor template and been able to deploy sites. Now, keep in mind, local governments are pretty complex organisations, lots of things that they need to cover. But they were able to transform and build these websites in 5 weeks. From months and months to 5 weeks. And how does that happen? Well, when you're using a template, when you're using an experience accelerator, a lot of the hard work, a lot of the frustrating bits are already done. We've baked into the template things like best practice usability, functional connection and working, and things like accessibility, all baked in at the core. They're not afterthoughts. So when you apply your design, your look and feel, your content, you've got a sense that you already rest assured that the content bin, the header, whatever it is going to work, and it's going to work well. Now, 5 weeks is pretty impressive. Our best example ever is 2 days. Okay, I don't think everyone's going to be in that state, but it does show that when you need to build a website quickly, for whatever the reason, templates, experience accelerators, these things available in our marketplace are there for you to use to be able to download and deploy quickly. We kind of look at these templates as a sense of design system. So I'm not sure if people have heard of design systems. Hopefully some of you have. It's the evolution of template, isn't it? So we talk about skeleton being our Lego box. We then talk about Raptor, a design applied. Well, design system is that next iteration. And for many of you here who are part of complex organisations, universities that have got distributed editors, many people touching the brand, writing content, different tonality, seeing marketers jitter a little bit as I say that. You want to find a way that you can keep consistency in your design, your brand, your user experience, your tonality, but also you don't want to hold everybody back from completing that work. And so that push-pull that sometimes happens between centrally governed and locally executed is a tough one. Design systems are fantastic for that. They're the guardrails that allow a distributed group of editors and developers to create within frameworks. We've built ours. Obviously, we've built for a lot of customers as well, and you can see here Digital Scotland, Gov UK, and even the Defence Academy. We've used a design system for them. That governance and compliance is really, really great. If you're looking at a design system, it's definitely something we can help you with. So there we go. We're talking about marketplaces and templates. And what were the promises we said we needed to do? Well, we need to have absolutely speed. With templates, experience accelerators, we've shown that almost 5 times faster. We need quality. Well, when you have accessibility, best practice, UX, all baked into those templates, it comes out of the box. And this is probably the one that I didn't mention up front, but I think is really important. Having an inspiration library. The marketplace works really great for thought starters. When you know you need to create something, you need something to start from. What's a gallery we can use for this idea? What's a full page design for this? That marketplace is great for inspiration. Come as you are, download some options, take them, develop them, tinker with them, turn them into your own. All these components are in the marketplace and they're for you to download. So we've talked about websites, we've talked about templates. Let's talk about portals for a second. We're talking about the authenticated experience, this deep level of personalisation. And this is Edify. This is our student portal template. We've been dealing with higher education for over 20 years. As part of that, we've realised a couple of things. The first is that every university does digital different. Different systems, different structures, but we know there's a lot of commonality at the same time. And so how do we take that commonality and use it to accelerate the experience when you're deploying things like portals? We've used the skeleton framework here. So again, you can apply your designs. You've got all of the ground rules that you require, but at the same time, there's lots of space for you to put in your own unique systems, your own unique content, your own unique design. Julie's going to share a little bit more about how this particular template works later, but it really acts as a great example on that promise for the DXP. Deeply personalised, a central spot for communication. It integrates with multiple systems. It's bringing things like calendar information, course information, credit scoring, a whole bunch of other different things that university students would require. It's fully responsive, and that's important because we know that students want to access content on the device they choose at the time that they choose. And so making sure that's available is really powerful. And it does drive, I think for a lot of businesses, this is a challenge, is that self-service, that channel migration to digital platforms to make transaction costs cheaper. And you know, portals have traditionally been really expensive to build, really complex to build, but here's one out of the box. We've started the experience acceleration. It's yours to take and to create it to what you need. And it really does meet each of these things when you think about that portal template. Experience, multi-channel, personalization, definitely giving self-service and keeping consistency in the experience through governance. Let's have a look at a couple of other examples. So I've seen websites, we've done portals. How about intranets? Let's do intranets now. So CAI, I've been saying CIA all week, and it's not that website, but Computer Aid Inc. is one of our US customers. They're a global tech services company, and their intranet is used by 2,500 people every single day. So when you think about personalization in the workplace, this is absolutely key. We talk about, JP mentioned, those two kinds of personalization, the persuading for purchase, or in this case, this is really about creating the improved usability, getting the right information and the right content up front for that user. CAI's intranet, again, multi-factor authentication. It integrates with a tool called Workday, so it's pulling in all of that information like calendars, holidays, things that are happening with other staff, important dates. It's also bringing in from a pay system, your pay entitlements, or specific entitlements that may be valid just for you in your region or in your office. Again, it's got some really kind of fun stuff to it as well, so customization around your location or the time of day you're accessing, and the header will change depending on those kind of things. And again, similar to the student portal, it's fully responsive, and the reason for that, just like students, employees want to be able to access that content at their own time on their own device. Okay, let's keep the examples coming. Self-service. When we look at business cases, this is absolutely one of the key points when you're putting your business case to your board or your executive council that you need to be considering. And why is that? It's really powerful when it comes to digital transformation. Self-service works both ways. Not only does it give business benefit through efficiency, through channel migration to cheaper channels, but also for the user, they get this great experience so they can access what they want when they want. I'm going to share a couple of examples. Now, if you haven't already picked up, I'm not from Kansas here, right? My accent, I'm an Australian. I've actually been a customer of Squiz for 6 years before I joined about 18 months ago and made the move. And so I'm going to indulge and share a couple of examples from the South Australian government that we created that really kind of meet the promise of the DXP. So the first one is the South Australian Government's Department of Education. Obviously, they manage schools and they manage curriculum, but in South Australia, they've taken that a step further. They've really taken the responsibility for making sure that students are able to enter the workforce. And this portal, it really is self-service on steroids. It's doing two different things at the same time. It's meeting the self-service need for students. They can go in there, they can create their CVs, they can do workplace challenges, they can also do a whole bunch of vocational training and learning, and they can do that in their own time and in their own way. But actually, it's also self-service for government and employers. Employers can go in and post jobs or interesting content. The government can be putting in new information around maybe open days that are happening. And so what you've got here is this portal that creates an ecosystem fueled by users on both sides. Gav mentioned it earlier, a lot of us are trying to do more with less these days. Budgets are tight. There's lots of challenges when it comes to getting digital innovation in really cost-efficient ways. Being able to create portals like this, where self-service is actually able to fuel the ecosystem, is really powerful. The other cool thing, I mean, this looks great. And the great thing here is that we actually did a lot of the UX work on this as well. So we've done a lot of user testing, prototyping with students to make sure that it hit the mark. And it's been incredibly successful. We've been exploring this theme about composability today, right? If you want an example that I think really tries to crystallize what composability is in the now, I think this is it. So when you look at this, it's what seems like on a page a very simple and needs to be user experience, right? This is the Adelaide Metro site. It's like, what have we got here? City Mapper, the TfL website. I need to get from somewhere to somewhere else. Get me there in the quickest way I can, considering things like cancellations, what's my availabilities, if there's any train strikes. Too soon for that one? Maybe. But what we're talking about here actually is a really beautiful, clean, unified experience. If you peeled back the layers, what you're actually seeing is about 20 different systems integrating to here, all into that unified experience. So we're bringing in things like up-to-date travel services. So where are the buses right now? Being able to show through geo-mapping the bus literally coming up to your bus stop. It's showing updating timetables as buses are cancelled or as things are happening. Google and AWS are integrated. You've got multiple mapping services layered over the top here as well. And also using device information, so the website actually knows exactly where that user is. Ultimately, it needs to ensure and give the confidence for these citizens that they are able to use a system that is quick, that is simple, and gives timely and, most importantly, accurate information. Again, I think it's a really great example of composability. Lots of different services from disparate parts of their ecosystem, all being brought together and showing what is a really clean, unified user experience. I like this one because it shows the power of our DXP, but also there was a lot of really clever brains that went behind bringing this together. Okay, so if Adelaide Metro is composability for the user, end user, let's look at composability for the editor. If you're not familiar, this is Sienna. Sienna have got over 7,500 staff and they're the world's leading optical connectivity business. They actually do a lot of digital things with us, but I want to really zoom in for a minute if I can on their multilingual services. So for many of us, multilanguage websites is a really big challenge. Whether you're trying to get the language right for your home country or whether you're trying to create a global presence that has accurate content, it's something that's really important, has to be done right. When it goes wrong, you can find yourself in real challenges. So let's take a little bit of a look at how the Squiz DXP is able to create a really clever automated multilingual experience. So for this particular example, we've got 20 different language websites around the world. But the thought of having 20 local content editors, all having to take that content, translate it in their own local language, get it live at the same time, you can see where this could be fraught with danger. Not only is it potentially risky, but it's also highly inefficient. So what Sienna did was create an automated experience using the Squiz DXP. You have an editor in America writing in English, some content. They press publish. That content goes through using Squiz Connect through to WordBee. If you haven't heard of WordBee, they're a multilingual service. They use a combination of AI and real people. And so they'll get that content sent to them via API. They know the different nationalities of that languages that information needs to be placed into. Put the content in, and via API send it back. Now, as part of that, there's also a service which gives you updates on exactly where that language translation is up to. It's light years ahead of using something like Google Language Translate, where you kind of auto-confuse or maybe auto-translate the content. And it really shows right now today how you can be using APIs to create really clever guardrails for your content creation. It also gets around some pretty crazy governance processes. Okay, so there we go. What have we seen? Well, we've recapped on what our product is, our DXP, Connect, Data Store, Marketplace, Funnelback, and Matrix. We saw a little bit around how templates can help be the Lego box that you need to create new experiences, but also the benefit that comes from them when you're thinking about efficiencies and quality and speed. We've seen design systems, and we've seen 10 examples of different customers who are using the DXP right now. Now, all of these templates and everything, it's backwards compatible. So, like I said, if you're using Funnelback 15, Matrix 5, they're all there for you to use, or if you're on our new tech. You've actually each got a really powerful DXP. I encourage you to take some inspiration from our marketplace, take some inspiration from the templates and the design systems we've created, and go and build some beautiful things for your users. Thanks so much, everyone. I hope you've really enjoyed some of the examples you've seen there.
We've got some really exciting stuff to go through now, but before we do, I just wanted to touch on something really quickly. We've all been sitting here today, listening to sessions. Back in our workplaces, the technology continues to roll, right? We've been listening to you around what's important. One of the things we hear is making sure that Squiz is looking after the things that just need to happen. What do I mean by that? Well, I mean, we want to make sure that when it comes to support, when it comes to stability, when it comes to the robustness of our systems, that we're making sure that that's not on your mind, right? We want you focusing on experiences, not on infrastructure. And Gav did touch on it very quickly, but I just want to let you know that we've actually been working really hard to make sure that there's a sense of real comfort when it comes to our systems and our platforms. We really take customer support, customer service really quite seriously. And we've invested significantly in our support teams, in upgrading all of our data centers, and as well as that, making sure that when we're releasing our technology, that is robust and stable. And you can see that from an incident perspective, we're in a really, really great spot. Those P1 incidents are also really starting to level out, which is fantastic. We spend a lot of time, real energy in making sure that we know that when you put Squiz into your organization, that we are the representation of your organization to your customers. It's really important. But like any technology, things do go wrong from time to time. We all know it. When that does happen, we want you to know that we actually have the right systems, the right support, the right structure to make sure that we resolve those things at speed. And you can see that from here, our SLAs, we have internal SLAs that are even stronger than the SLAs that we present to you. And we're meeting those at the moment. We want to continue doing that. This is really important stuff so that there's confidence. You can see here as well that when we're talking about getting those tickets solved, we're absolutely making sure that your requests, the things that you need, we're getting information back to you as quick as we can. And the reason we're doing that, well, complacency is a killer. We're not about complacency. We're about getting better and continuing to get better. And that's what we want to do. We want to keep going, making the things better so you don't sweat the small stuff. Right, the system's always online. It's working. When you've got a request, you're getting a response in the right time. We want you focused on experiences, not on infrastructure. That's really, really important. I'm going to be back next year. I'm going to show you those graphs are going down even more. I've been told I have to promise that. But we know we will. So far, we've got the promise of the DXP, right? You found out a little bit about Squiz as an organization, where we're going, what we believe, the way we want to be interacting with you. You've seen some of the really cool stuff that we're doing with customers right now that you can take advantage of. There's some really exciting stuff just around the corner. I know everyone's been peepering away at your announcements, but they're all there. To share a little bit around what's just around the corner here at Squiz, can I please give a round of applause for our Chief Product Officer, Julie Brettle.
So I have 3 really big announcements for today. So Gav kind of spoiled a little bit, but I'm still going to keep going with it. So we have DXP components, a customer data platform, and forms. So it's really vital that developers can be hired who can bring their own skills and get up and running really, really quickly. We at Squiz think that it's essential for those skills to be able to be employed in modern JavaScript frameworks using the language your developers want to build in, and we don't want to limit that by imposing specific code bases. For site builders or people building sites, we know that managing design libraries can also be really hard. Some of you share them between departments, between schools at universities, and you need them to be able to work seamlessly and properly across all of the different places you need them to work. And content editors, they need to be more efficient as well. You need to enable them to self-service, easily use pre-built components, built by Squiz, built by Squiz's partners, and built by your own development teams, so that they can quickly build what they need to get it in front of your customers as soon as possible. So to solve all of these problems, I'd like to announce our new component system that's in internal beta testing right now and will be released in March 2023. So the component system, it's a new way for our services teams and our customer developers to work using JavaScript and all the other popular frameworks to create components or design systems that are made available back to Matrix for content editors to use. So you can build components in Matrix 6 now. It's something that is available and we're not changing that. So you can still keep building them in the way that you build it now, but we genuinely don't think you're going to want to. Because regardless of your role in building digital experiences, from developer to marketer to digital communicator to content editor, these new component systems are going to make your job easier, faster, cheaper, and more easily governed. So I've got a few examples. So here, site builders will be able to go and use sets of components from inside the DXP console. And it's going to make it a lot easier to manage and share design systems across multiple sites, applications, wherever you need to share them. There we go. Content editors can also see libraries of components in Matrix, built by Squiz, built by our partners, or built by your own development team. And they'll be easily able to add these new components from within Matrix and configure them. So they'll have reusable sets of fields for things like cards, accordions, carousels, and conditional fields that'll make it a lot easier for us to edit structured content. So they can be then displayed on a Matrix page and will also work seamlessly with any other versions of components that are already available. They'll also integrate really easily with funnel bags, making sure it's a lot easier to pull in search results via components. But you don't need to be on Matrix to use the new components. So this is an actual WordPress site. Gav made a joke earlier about building one on the plane, and we didn't. We built this at the airport. But so components can be centrally managed, and you can use them anywhere you need. So you can use them outside the Squiz DXP, like this newsfeed that we embedded on a WordPress site. It also makes it really easy to embed funnelback on other different CMSs as well. Wherever you need the content to show up, it can. So this really reinforces this composable strategy that's been kind of the underlying thread to all of today. It's inherent in everything that we build as a product team. So we want to build the world's most composable DXP, and components is one of the really key pieces of functionality that underpins this vision. But we're not stopping there. So components is about to be released. They're in internal beta testing right now. We have one beta customer already signed up that we're hoping to get in front of very, very soon. But we want to build more. So we know that developers need to be able to build fast. So what we're doing now really paves the way to that. So we've introduced the first steps of decoupled rendering, overhauling our headless capabilities that make it fast. But we need to continue this with the ultimate goal of really improving our headless capabilities. But you don't have to build headless if you don't want to. So you can components will work just as well in head-on and or headless solutions, but we're just making it a lot easier for you to get the content where you need it to be. And we can't leave content editors behind. So this ends the trade-offs. We want to make sure that developers get the best autonomy and speed, and content editors get the best sort of self-service and ownership. So to build that, to enable that, we're going to be building out an intuitive visual page builder over the next sort of 12 to 18 months. This is also underpinned by making sure that we get the governance right. We need to make it a lot easier for you to govern your digital solutions across all the different channels. So this is our front-end as a service strategy. It's going to be rolling out over the next little while, but yeah, it'll really end those trade-offs between building things for developers or building things for content editors. We're going to make sure all of the users of our digital experiences are getting the optimum experience. If you would like to learn more, this afternoon there's a breakout session with Hugh and Greg where they're actually going to build some, possibly live. Yeah. We did it live in Sydney, it went okay. So we'll be building out some components and you'll be able to see how it can really work and ask them questions directly. So your customers expect the sites they visit to be personalised to them. But personalisation can be really difficult to manage. For even anonymous or authenticated personalisation, you've got lots of different content you need to manage, all those different user journeys you need to map out and try and manage all the different data integration. It can be really, really overwhelming. It's also really difficult to measure the return on investment for your personalisation strategy. So you've spent all this time building out a personalisation strategy, mapping user journeys, building out all the content, and are you actually getting any effect? Are your customers getting the outcome you wanted them to get? So to solve all of these problems, we are building out the Squiz Customer Data Platform. So this is in beta testing really early next year and will be available for general release in July next year. So the Customer Data Platform, or a CDP, it collects data in a really governed way from all different sources. So you can get sort of website behavioural data, mobile data, CRM data. We have Internet of Things sensors that some universities use to make sure people are in class. Anywhere that you want. And it unifies it to create accurate customer profiles in real time, and that makes that profile accessible to and actionable by other tools and technology. We're building the CDP for Squiz customers. So there's lots of CDPs in the market. There's like at least 50. I could probably name 10 off the top of my head. But a lot of them really focus in on retail use cases. They're looking at e-commerce, trying to figure out how to use customer data to generate more retail sales. We know that's not what the Squiz customers need. So we're focusing on the features that we don't know that you do need, which is around enabling easy and simple content personalization and de-siloing customer data so that marketers can quickly build out those really hyper-personalized and individualized experiences. And we also are really focusing on trying to give you tools to measure the return on investment for your personalization strategy. So this means that marketers will be able to really easily add new data sources in via Connect, which is our iPaaS product. And we also have lots of other data ingestion options as well. I might do some. Okay, so here, so if we want to add in Canvas, because we're the University of Windsor, so we want to add in Canvas, which is our learning management system, as a data source. So you can see here all the third-party data sources that we have available via Connect. They're just available inside the system. So you can click on that. It takes you into Connect. You can configure what recipe defaults you have, add in any extra fields that you want to pull through from Connect, so looking at their API. And then you can identify what fields you want to map over. So all the data sources you have, they have lots of different fields. You only really want to map over the ones you care about. And then the data gets stored in our sort of single customer view. So this is our really easy to use interface where you can see all the different customers that their data is being consolidated in. You can view all the data, you can just view anonymous data, individual segments, and really see how your customers are interacting with your digital experiences. And you can drill down and look at individual customer profiles. Obviously, we have appropriate access control, but you can really get deeply into what is being tracked for each customer with a simple and easy to use interface. So Maria here, I might just go over the side, sorry, actually I'm going to ruin the video. So Maria here, if you start at the bottom, she came on, she looked at a couple of pages, she watched some videos, she did some course searches, and then she filled in a form around an open day submission. Now we know who she is. She was kind enough to give us her email address and her name and a photo for some reason, but regardless, we now know who she is. So we can stitch together that progressive profile, building it up over time. So she's still a prospective student, but if she likes what she hears at the open day, she might convert to an enrolled student. And then we get all of the data that comes with that. We get interests, clubs she's joined, courses, her GPA. It can all be linked into this profile. We can also, if we choose, link up any third-party data sources if you want to. So this means that the history of Maria and the history of all of your customers is growing over time. It's being stitched together, the story of this prospective student to enrolled student to engaged alumni. So once you've got all this data, you want to create segments for doing personalization. So all the different fields are being synced in, and then you can use that to create segments. So we've got really precise business rules that allow marketers or site builders or content editors to create very simple or complex methods to enable your personalization strategy. These segments are DXP wide as well. So that means they can be sent to Matrix for content personalization. They can be integrated with Funnelback's existing search personalization. They can be used in Connect or Data Store. They can also obviously be sent to any CMS that enables personalization. So it'll make it easy to centralize your personalization and then use it everywhere that you need to across any CMS. These business rules are not limited for site personalization either. Gav kind of borrowed this story earlier, but one of the big use cases that we use is around building out a student risk profile. So you can look at, because you have all the data from different sources, Canvas will tell you how many days late their assignments are. Your LMS, your student information service might tell you their GPA. You can pull that in, get a really good picture of the students that might be at risk, put it inside a component and put it on a student success intranet page, and you have a real-time measure of the students that need intervention before they drop out. That's only one of the use cases. There's a lot of different things that you can use this data for. It's not just for personalization. So with the Squiz CDP, you'll be able to build really personalized and customized portals, websites, and intranets simply and quickly. Using it with the new component model, portal development time, building data-driven applications, and even integrations will be faster than ever, which will make it easier for you to meet your own goals and go beyond them. So we are looking for early access customers for the CDP. We have a couple in the audience, I think, who are interested. But if there's anyone else who would like to learn more about this and the timing and see if it's something you'd like to work with, can you contact your account manager and I will come to a meeting and we can figure out how to make it work for you. All right. The third big announcement is around advanced forms. So every single customer of the Squiz DXP has at least one form in production right now. We know that content editors need to be able to more easily self-serve on forms, even really complex ones with conditional logic and payment gateways. We also want to make collecting the data that you get from the forms and using that data for things more intuitive. So forms, as we saw with Maria earlier, forms are a really great way of learning more about your prospective customers and learning more about them and then building that up over time. And we want to make that more easy and flexible. So we are building the next evolution of forms inside the Squiz DXP for beta testing next year and general release in September next year. What we're really focusing here on is making them easy to use. So we want to make sure that non-technical users can now easily, simply create forms, specify where the data can be saved, and of course this will completely integrate with the Squiz CDP that we were talking about earlier. So non-technical users can take advantage of the new features that we're building out in the Squiz DXP forms. So we have drag and drop building, multiple field types, proper field validation, embedding of digital signatures, conditional logic, so being able to say the answer to the question that comes up next depends on how you answered the first question, as well as multiple page forms. We also are going to have a lot more options around doing payment gateways. We know that's something that we've got a lot of feedback around the current forms, that it's too difficult to add in payment gateways. So it'll be really easy. You'll be able to find all of your current and active forms and closed forms and check the views and responses and even look at trends inside the responses. So we're really focusing on making them easy to use for non-technical users. So here you can see you can really easily and simply build out new forms with drag and drop fields, both complex and simple types. There's a lot more if you scroll down, and style them using pre-built templates that your developers can build. So once built, the forms can be embedded inside Matrix using one of the component model. It'll be easy to see all the forms that you have available. And of course, because we're using the component model, it means it's really easy to embed these forms anywhere you need them to be, regardless of the content management system. They will, however, of course, also preview inside Matrix, so you can see them contextually within all the rest of the page, and you can really see what your customers will be able to see. So again, as with everything that I'm announcing today, if anyone is interested in being an early access customer or would like to learn more about forms and maybe have a bit of a play around with them, please contact your account manager and we'll set something up. All right, so those were the three big things, but I do have a couple of other smaller things. So Funnelback. I know there's a couple of Funnelback only customers here, and we want to make sure we do have a really exciting roadmap for our search product with a number of improvements that will be rolled out over the next 12 months. So by mid next year, we plan to enable incorporation of rendered page content in FunnelBag. So that means that you'll be able to get search results from rendered pages, which is really difficult at the moment. We're also building out a better version of Curator. It's called Curator 2.0, but it's going to be a lot more user-friendly and it'll enable you to do a lot more things to curate your search results. It's also going to be a lot easier to manipulate content before and after indexing with our new plugin model. So you'll be able to use our existing catalogue of plugins, which are available from the Squiz Marketplace, or you can create your own, and it'll enable you to transform the content prior to indexing and manipulate the results. We're also, really importantly, moving to active insights. So at the moment, if you want to know what's going on with your search content or your search results, you need to manually go to the dashboard and have a poke around. You no longer have to remember to do that anymore. It's going to give you nudges and alerts when something of interest happens, complete with the what, the why, and recommendations on next steps. We also want to make it a lot easier for non-technical users to set up and manage search. So we're changing the configuration screen and making it a lot more user journey guided. So it's going to be easy for anyone to be able to set up search anywhere they need it to be. And last but not least, we are investing in our core search capabilities. We want to take advantage of all of the improvements around the AR capability that's been sort of out over the last few years and make our search results offers even better and more accurate. So a lot of these new tools and functionalities and ways to build digital experiences are accessed through the DXP console. One of the things we're doing early next year is refreshing the console to give more customers the way to access the Squiz DXP. So as Gav said earlier, you all have the DXP now, and if you take in our digital deep dives, then we can talk through what use cases are and what sort of functionality and tools that you might need that'll help you solve the problems that you have. And we are making available more evaluation versions, so you'll be able to try it before you have to purchase it and make sure that it really is solving the problems that you want it to solve. But we've also been talking about, if you buy a composable DXP, you are still buying a platform. And even if you're using a different CMS or a different integration partner or lots and lots of different integration partners, because some people use lots of them, you need to be able to see how the entire platform is working. You can post solutions from all different tech, but the thing that you don't get is you don't get that overall view is, are your customers getting what they need from it? What's the performance like? How do you actually see how that's working when you're using lots of different technology? So as you can see here, we are giving out a lot more ways for you to be able to govern your overall solutions and give you consistency and certainty. So over the next 12 months, we're rolling out 2 new areas of the DXP console, Insights and Optimize. So Insights is where you'll see tools that'll give content editors, marketers, communicators and developers more ways to understand your customers and how your sites are being experienced, regardless of what technology is building those sites. So we talked about earlier, we're moving to active instead of passive insights. So we'll be able to give you nudges when your site isn't performing the way you're expecting or when your customers aren't getting to the goals that you've set, and give you tips on how you can improve that. Optimize is where you find tools that let you improve your digital experiences as well. So aimed more at marketers, we'll be rolling out more ways to optimize your sites, including lots of AI integrations that will identify and offer suggestions to fix any bottlenecks that might be experienced on your sites. And one last announcement is we have a new tool called web archiving. So the problem that we have with a lot of sites is you need an audit trail. You need to be able to get snapshots of your site at a point in time, and that's really difficult when you're using lots of different technology. So you've got, the top half of your site is being pulled, a data source being pulled from here, and the other half is being pulled from the CMS. You're composing your digital sites, but you can't get the audit trails that you need for governance. Web archiving is a new product that is available right now. It released last week, and this solves those problems. So it enables you to capture snapshots of your websites at a point in time, and it works 100% on composed solutions. So no matter what the data source or where your website is being composed from, it can use 100 systems, it can use one. We can snapshot what it looked like at that point in time, including any third-party content that's coming in, and create that digital archive for you. It also doesn't have any impact on the performance of the CMS because of the way that we've built it out. So there's no impact on performance when it is archiving your site. And it's fully managed by Squiz. So you don't need to worry about talking to any third parties to figure out how to get this archive. So here's how it works. So we have Connect, which is one of our products. It calls the web archiving service and snapshots that page, and that snapshot is stored in Amazon S3. And we have a log that gets stored on our systems. Connect can also send those snapshots to anywhere you want. It doesn't have to be stored on our S3. You can store it wherever you need your data to be stored. So if you need to see what was published at a certain point in time, you can go to the log file, click on the link, and there is your snapshot. And that is an actual archived page. So this is a shout out to Queensland Health, who helped us build this. But yeah, so this is ready right now. It's available. Just talk to your account manager and we can get it set up for you. So I said that I had 3 big announcements: the DXP components in March, the customer data platform in July, and the advanced forms in September. And as Gav said, these have all been started. All of those screenshots are pretty real, and we've all started building on them. So we are going to make these available to you then. I also had a couple of other announcements. So we have the DXP console improvements, including the evaluation versions, which is coming early next year, the final back updates over the next year, and web archiving, which is available right now. So I said at the beginning, we're trying to build the most composable DXP in the world, the easiest DXP to use, the DXP that gives you faster time to value, faster time to your customers, seeing how your organization can work for them, can help them. So this roadmap is how Squiz will enable you to reach your organization's visions and goals faster, easier, flexibly integrating with your existing tech stack or any tech that you want to add in the future, and letting you come as you are. Thank you. Sam? All right. And I would like to hand over to the lovely Jamie, who's going to talk about migration pathways. Thank you. It's today. Is it my? Thanks. Better technical help. Yeah?
All right, great. So in my role in the account management team, I've got the benefit of working with all of our customers across all sectors and getting really close to all of your digital strategies. And that puts me in a really great position to be able to understand how we need to plan forward with new technologies that enable us faster. And so what I want to be able to talk to you about a bit today is how we can work out a pathway together to get you across to our Squiz DXP platform. I'm holding so many things, I'm trying to work out what to click. So I'm sure you're all really energized. I've got to follow the fantastic Julie, but hearing that amazing product roadmap that we've got, all the features that we have, and earlier we talked about how you can win today by leveraging the complete DXP and those components. But we've still got this aspiration gap. The goals and objectives that you're trying to achieve for your organizations are complex. And what makes it even more complex is all of the noise that takes up your focus. So you've got things like scalability, allocations, predicting peaks, accessing new technologies, managing infrastructure, that list could go on. And our goal is to ensure that you don't need to worry about any of this. And SaaS enables us to take this complexity away. We can help you close that aspiration gap. And that's what I'll spend some time demonstrating for you today. So what are we doing right now to advance our customers? The University of Sunshine Coast is one of our most recent customers. They joined us just this year. And their challenge was to create a student portal that leveraged data from across many disparate systems. And most importantly, it needed to be a tailored experience for their students. And of course, it needed to be secure. So in partnership with USC, we were able to design this tailored portal experience for their students. And then we were able to use the components and the templates that you've seen today as a starting point to enable us to get to value really quickly. And coupled with Connect and Data Store, that enabled us to syndicate data from across many systems. And what we were able to do was deliver this highly tailored portal for over 15,000 students within 4 months. And you have to say it's pretty remarkable to be able to deliver such a highly valuable tool within such a short time frame. And the key benefits for USC beyond the experience is that they're using the best of the DXP available to them. So they're using the right tools in the platform to deliver. The other benefit is that their solution is on the SaaS platform. So they're always on the latest technology, they're getting new updates constantly, and they're never going to have to upgrade, ever. And to me, that means they don't have to manage infrastructure or worry about releases. They don't need to change anything for their teams. They can really just think about what's the best next thing for our students and focus on delivering that. And that's a bit different to where we are for our existing customer base. And so I want to talk about how we can take you on that journey. So why Squiz DXP? Why have we made this change to move to SaaS? Well, USC is a great example of why, but let's take a moment to really dive into the why. We've provided a really solid service for you, all of our customers, for many, many years, but we can't stand still. We know that things are changing within our industry, and we know that things are changing for you all. We know that we need to have strong cloud-native applications that enable us to scale based on demand. We need to be able to compose the experience or an application based on data from within your organization or externally to the organization, so from social media and other channels. And we need to be able to provide the total experience. And by that, I mean we need to be able to provide a great experience for our customers, but we also need to provide a great experience for our internal staff. We can't break the backs of our teams just to provide that great experience. It needs to be seamless, and there needs to be no trade-offs. And in the world we're all living in now, with distributed enterprises, we find ourselves with teams that are remote, and we've got governments that are dealing with internal and external stakeholders from all over the world. Universities, for instance, have students that are off-site or on campus, and everyone needs to be getting a really good and consistent experience. And it's these things that are our focus and the things that we're considering in terms of what we need to deliver. But the other most important influencer for us is you, our customers, and the customers that you serve. And we've been listening, and we know that your world is more complex than ever. We know that being more agile, security, and providing improved performance is what really matters. And we need to facilitate the ability for you and your organization to respond in this ever-changing world. And so for all of those reasons, we have our Squiz DXP SaaS solution. And as you can see, we spared no expense on fireworks. I did ask Gav for more budget, but he said we'd spend it all on the SaaS platform. So what's the benefits of moving to SaaS? All of our customers at the moment receive a major upgrade, in most cases at least one a year. So you get new features and functionality ready for you to use. But that's not fast enough. Our ambition is to have the right tools in everyone's hands immediately. So if you're on the latest version of our technology, you've got the correct features to use. Your projects are more efficient. Again, looking at the University of Sunshine Coast example, you can deliver better, a better end user experience, and you can be using best practices at all times. And if we can get you our product features faster, it means our feedback loop's drastically improved as well. So we don't have to wait 12 months to hear your feedback anymore. We can hear from you what you like and what you want more of immediately. And that means that your access to innovative new solutions will speed up dramatically as well. Our upgrade process. Now, some of you in the room might not enjoy it at the moment, but we've been offering what is actually a really solid upgrade process for many, many years. So all of our existing customers can go through a process with limited UAT, and your entire organization's systems are upgraded, which is pretty remarkable. But through great engineering, great architecture, we're able to limit that effort altogether. So Matrix 6 and Funnelback 16 have been built with the ability to have automatic, frictionless upgrades. And by having more frequent updates that are smaller, we'll have rigorous automated testing, and coupled with that improved architecture, we can have customers always on the latest version. So now as part of SaaS, we're going to have frictionless upgrades. And everything our team are doing, Matrix 6, Funnelback 16, all of the product roadmap you've seen, that's all part of this journey. All of that functionality we have coming can be in your hands seamlessly. But of course, we need to make sure that you're able to come as you are. So we're going to bring people over to SaaS as soon as we're able to, but we'll also make sure that our roadmap is available for our Squiz Cloud customers as well. There may be some differences, but we want to make sure that all of you can get the benefits as soon as possible. Some other features that come with SaaS is that we've partnered with Amazon Web Services to build a new architecture, and that means we're able to offer some new services that we haven't had in the past. So we're taking the guesswork out of scalability. Right now, we need to try and predict when you're going to have traffic peaks. And in the SaaS environment, it can just grow with your needs. You don't need to plan, you can just have confidence. Coupled with that, we're transitioning away from a disaster recovery approach and moving to a highly available state. Our DR is solid and still works really well, but we can move to a different approach. And that means there's going to be less trade-offs. So in an emergency or an incident, we'll always have your site available across multiple zones within your local region. There'll be no authoring freezes, no worries about syncing data afterwards, and importantly for your customers, things like forms will just work throughout the entire process. So how do we get there? Oh, wrong way. There are many benefits once you're there, but what does the process look like? So I appreciate this is a bit of a detailed slide, so I'll explain the process in a second. This is a screen grab that was taken from our website, and you can go there at any time to have a look at this a bit more in detail. We've spent a lot of time before coming to explain this all to you today to make sure that we've got a path for every one of our customers. And we've tried to make the process as simple as possible. Initially, we're going to focus on matrix migrations, but there is a process for funnel back, and that will follow soon after. The biggest step in the journey is actually migrating to Matrix 6. So if you're already on Matrix 6, you're a foot into SaaS already. We recognize it is a really significant change for you and your organization, but there are significant benefits in moving to SaaS as well. What we provide to you is already very solid. So what we want to do is change with you. Our process involves us planning together to consider your organization priorities and when is the right time to change for you. We've updated our agreements, as been mentioned a bit earlier, to make sure that you can use the right products in the DXP. So try what you like and pay for what you need is really what we're setting up. And for some customers, SaaS may realize with very little changes. We'll do your final ever upgrade to Matrix 6, followed by some testing and transition. For other customers, there may be some changes to ensure that we can leverage the features, but we've done plenty of planning behind the scenes to ensure that we can understand what's required for everyone. So that means we'll create a tailored DXP SaaS plan together, largely focused around your contract renewal and when you are ready. So if you want to know more, please reach out to your account manager. We've also set up an email address so you can email transformation@squiz.net. We're also running a panel discussion this afternoon, headed by some of the heavy hitters in this space, and these guys are the actual experts, so you'll be able to answer any questions that you might have at this stage. The goal is that we want to make sure that you can keep focusing on creating great experiences and not managing infrastructure. Thank you, and please reach out in the break if you've got any questions. So I'm going to hand over to the fantastic Karina to talk us through a customer spotlight.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm Karina. I'm one of the account directors here at Squiz EMEA. The lovely Mick from Glasgow Caledonian University was meant to be here with us today. However, he was unable to travel due to a health condition. So instead, we had to improvise, and we've done a pre-recorded chat. It's a short discussion between Mick and I just about GCU's digital transformation journey. He talks about the aspiration gap, which Jamie also mentioned, and also some of the trends he's looking out for in 2023 in higher education. So without further ado, I'll press play. And yeah, it's a short video. And yeah. Morning, Mick. How are you?
I'm good, Karina. Good to speak to you. Sorry, I'm not there in person in London.
Thank you so much for taking the time out to catch up with me today. Lots to chat through. Really exciting time, obviously, for Glasgow Caledonian University. Lots going on. And yeah, I think maybe if you could start off just by giving us a little bit of a background about yourself, obviously how long you've been in your role as digital engagement head of at GCU. Yeah, if you could just give us a bit of a background, what drew you to that and how you ended up in the higher education sector.
Yeah, of course. Well, I'm head of digital engagement at Glasgow Caledonian University. We've something like 22,000 students at the university. I've been there for 2 years and 8 months. My goodness, how time flies. I have a bit of a sort of, varied background, like a lot of people these days. Started off in journalism and then really got into digital at the BBC News website. That was really the catalyst for me to move into digital more fully. With various organizations, both public sector, private sector. But previous to this job, I was working at, for example, the Scottish Qualifications Authority. I moved to, we'll just call it GCU. I started with them on the 1st of April, 2020, which is just as the lockdown was happening, and had managed to hightail it out of, I was on holiday in Buenos Aires, managed to hightail it out of Buenos Aires and managed to start the job. And it was all a bit strange. I don't know if you've ever seen that picture of Cillian Murphy in 28 Days Later, where he's walking through London. The campus felt a bit like that at the time, where there just wasn't a soul. I went in, picked up a laptop, and it was like, you're running a team of 16 people, designers, digital developers, content producers, and trying to obviously maintain services that are existing, but also at the same time bring forward plans for a new website program, which we're now into, and obviously proud to say that we launched in the spring of this year with the GCU main website up and running. So we made it through the pandemic, and we working in partnership with yourselves. And now we're on to phase 2 of that, plus London, our London campus integration. So it's all moving forward. And I have basically structured the team in terms of three work streams of the design and interactive design, development and content. So that's very much the way we work. And obviously, we're looking to develop our capabilities and crucially our partnerships, and Squiz are the biggest partner that we have for that. So yeah, so things are moving forward well. There's always bumps in the road, but yeah, we're moving forward, and as to say, progress on London has been great. So really good.
So, it's been quite a journey that we've been on together, and I know you worked with Squiz in a previous life as well, which is, you've probably seen a few iterations of us over the years, initially starting off at GCU as just a funnel back only customer. So, we purely worked with you on a search basis, and then obviously, like you mentioned, going live with the new site in May of this year. Can you tell us a little bit more about, I guess, the just the overall digital transformation journey that GCU have been on over the last few years? And I guess what were some of those main drivers for moving your CMS to a new platform, and I guess specifically looking at Squiz for that?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. So you're absolutely right. So in terms of funnel back, that was a kind of trigger point for me. When I found that out, I was really pleasantly surprised, because I'd worked for ICAS, the Institute of Chartered Accountants for Scotland, and we'd had a really successful digital transformation there working with Squiz. That was in Edinburgh. That was a few years ago. So when we were looking at, well, basically the website and the technologies that GCU had were really clunky, very difficult to use, hadn't been updated in quite a long time. So I had to put together a business proposal to look at something which fed into, we did have a bit of an advantage in some ways, because we did have some devolved publishing going on with the schools and departments. What we really wanted to do was to grow that significantly, so that people were owning their content much more, crucially, were owning their processes online. So that was very much factored into the business proposal that I put together that went to the executive board of the university, who approved it. And then it was a question of you know, going through the tender process and Squiz with the winners on that. So, and I have to say, I think you know, we've got more than 100 matrix users throughout the university now, and I think the pace of change has to some extent has taken me by surprise a bit, pleasantly. And I think, you know, that's all down to the team as well, in terms of, you know, how they've worked with colleagues, but also down to the technology. You know, making it much simpler, having simpler templates, you know, having a good workflow system in place, a really solid workflow system in place for administration there and governance. And, you know, we've got it's a full, you know, full fat project in terms of governance, you know, accessibility, all of that. And so the change program has been really good. You know, it's not easy, but not everybody buys into it. But, you know, we're certainly moving forward, and we're moving forward with Squiz. And I think we're very much, you know, with our eyes on the DXP and how we can look to evolve that, you know, in doing some of the scoping for this project. You know, went to speak to Ulster, my old university, and looking at some of their transformation work, and it was really very exciting to see that. So really pleased with it. You know, and we've done things alongside this, which, you know, it's not like blowing your trumpet, but, you know, yeah, sometimes you have to take a wee back foot, because you're in it all the time, and then you go, "Craig, the team did that," and they did. We had a full accessibility audit from the Cabinet Office, which came toddling along right as we're moving from the old site to the new site, with loads of problems with the old site. And we said, "Look, we're moving to our new site soon." Largely, and I really remember that was one of the real highlights of working with Squiz on that backlog and getting that sorted out. That was just absolutely remarkable. So we got that done, and that was a biggie. That was the sort of public sector audit that's the Cabinet Office have been doing. So alongside all that, there's been all these other paths and journeys that we've been going through together just to do things, and that's been quite great, really.
Yeah, and one thing you mentioned as you were chatting there is that it's not easy, and I think like that, you know, it takes a special partnership to work through it, because it can get tough. And I guess on your, overall digital transformation journey that you've been through, have you had to make many compromises, or has there been any reality checks that you've had to experience in trying to, I guess, achieve those overarching goals that you set for yourselves?
Without a doubt, I think sometimes, you know, being an optimist and you know, always wanting to think the best, sometimes you're like, oh god, you know, you will get people who will talk the talk, and that old cheesy sort of, but will not walk the walk. And so you've got to bring people with you. And I think as well, you know, a huge amount of support within the university, but still, you know, sometimes things can be, you know, depends who you're working with. You know, there's always the early adopters, and then there's people behind. So there's things there. And I think one of the other things is, I know we talked about things you would do differently. You know, obviously the pandemic came and hit us like a train. And, you know, it was, you know, from an individual personal perspective for people, it was really, really hard. You know, we've lost loved ones, and people have been really ill, and it's been frightening. But you know, the remarkable thing was people working through that. You know, I mean, in some ways, you know, the team I had only just started using Teams collaborative technology. Fortunately, yes, but I had experience of it. But it was amazing how quickly people adopted to that. I think one of the things for me, one of the lessons is, and it's all very well with retrospect, but was looking at how other people were doing things in that environment, in that space. You know, how were other people doing digital, or how were they coping with everything? And I know it was very hard, because we're all just trying to keep the lights on to a large extent. But I think, you know, that would, for me, would be one of the things. I think to have that, you know, we haven't done it. We should do it, a lessons learned, and go, how could we work better? How could we work better ourselves? How could we work better in communication with our partners to do things? Because it was really quite a unique set of circumstances, you know, and you almost have to pinch yourself. But I do think the technology really helped us a massive amount, and I actually think some of it, because obviously you're a very international organization, you know, that sort of, you know, bringing the borders down in terms of talking to your folk, whether they're in Poland or Australia, has been fantastic and a real big help to us. You know, why would we do things any differently going forward? You know, so yeah, some big lessons for us with all of that. But yeah, I do think we're moving into the sort of normalizing phase a bit more now.
Yeah, it's crazy to think back to those early days when we were doing the project all completely remote, and it was all so brand new for everybody. It was, I guess we almost learned it together, which was crazy to look back on and think about. Are there any other, I guess, just building on that, are there any other insights that you've gained about how to handle, you know, what we call the aspiration gap? So that's, you know, between the promise of digital and actually the reality of achieving that, because we know the achieving part, it's hard, it can be tough, and it takes a lot of communication and working together, over communication sometimes. But yeah, is there anything else there in terms of that aspiration gap that you've learned or you've seen over the course of the last couple of years?
I think the communication thing is absolutely crucial, and making sure that you're having that communication. And you know, whilst it might seem sometimes, so we've had a working group from all the schools and departments, while sometimes, you know, trying to keep that as focused as possible, and sometimes, you know, people are disengaged and they've got stuff going on and their teams chats, but it's really important to have that, and it's really important to have a vision and a, you know, destination in terms of where you want them to go. And I think that's the thing that we're really wanting to push on with now, is, you know, ultimately, crucially for us, the student experience, like everyone else in the HE sector, or FE or wherever, the customer experience, bottom line, you know, but also particularly for colleagues, because, you know, I think now, because digital has really caught hold now, you know, document sharing and all that was the nirvana before, but it's now the norm, and making sure that business practice follows that. And so I think in terms of having that clear vision, you know, I've got some plans for next year, which are very much around the student experience, in terms of how we flip that in its head a bit with, and search is a massive part of that. Funnel back will play a really big part of that. You know, again, funnel back and its usage now with our course module catalog, you know, that bit of work's already done for phase 2. So it's really around about the technologies, and I think as well, you know, the ambitions that we should really have are around about AI and you know, integrating that and going down the app mode trail much more. You know, to be honest, we're still, you know, producing, my team are still producing paper prospectuses, you know, because there's still a, you know, a business need for those. But it's finding ways to reduce that, you know, the from a sustainability point of view, from an effectiveness, from a reach point of view. But you know, they're still there at open days, open nights, and things like that. So we need to be thinking about that, and you know, got, I think, some exciting plans for how we're going to do that. I think from going to some of the nights with kids and seeing the, you know, what they're looking for at school level, and then trying to think, right, okay, well, actually, are we going about this the right way with things like search? And I don't think we are. So we need to be much more personalized with that. I know everybody always says it, but we really do need to go down that route.
And is there any, I guess, kind of key or top trends in HE that you're looking out for? I know you've obviously mentioned the student experience, online perspective. Is there anything else that you're watching out for, or you're reading about, that you can expect, or we can expect to see in 2023?
I think in terms of trends, I think what's driving a lot at the moment is that there's much more of a, let's say, a competition on in the UK, or the UK and Ireland market for students. You know, there are trends that are really sort of taking us by surprise a little bit. Some of it is like, increasingly international sort of non-European students coming in, massive numbers. Obviously Brexit has had an impact, but also I think as well, a lot of the universities, home domestic market, and you've got a lot more of the more established universities now looking at those markets much more. And there's a duty, or there's a corporate social responsibility aspect to that in terms of, widening participation and access. And I think that's something that we need to be looking at, all of us really, and extending our reach. I know we all, we've got social and we've got this and that, but it's widening that reach. And also, as well as that, I think we've got to be thinking about retention in terms of students as well still. I know that, that was a particular challenge during the pandemic, because, students were getting, a lot of their experience was online. It wasn't great and all of that, but it's trying to keep students sort of engaged and that sort of thing. And just being generally flexible. There's a lot more students want to take a year out before they start at the gap year thing. So, but I do think absolutely, in terms of the opportunities that exist. I mean, introducing AI into registration is a must. To reduce the sort of the workload on colleagues. To bring that down and make it much more streamlined. And some universities are doing some amazing work with that. And you may have a few at Squiz Sync, I'm not sure, but that's a fantastic piece of work. And I the work that at Scottish Qualifications Authority, we had I worked on the redevelopment of their exams timetable app, the study skills app, and they're just amazing. And Alexa skills for those as well, so that kids really, like my kids, really didn't have to get out of bed to find out what the modern studies exam was. So there's lots of assistive technologies and things that we need to be looking at. We just need to pick the ones absolutely at the center of what we want to be about next year. Funnel back, search, and personalization are absolute musts for us around about what we're going to be looking at.
Amazing. So yeah, so many things there in terms of trends, lots of exciting stuff. Sounds like it's going to be a busy 2023. I guess my final question, kind of related to that, is what do you believe will be the game changer for you and GCU next year?
I do think that I know I'm kind of repeating myself, but it is around about that, that personalization and that search, and that's going to really, that it's there's imperatives, business imperatives for that, but it's really around about the customer, and it's around about how we're going to deliver a service. I think the other thing as well is one of the really big things about Matrix that I love is visibility. Our last content management system was, you couldn't find stuff, but through the detailed audit and the continuing audit that we're doing with yourselves and streamlining our content, we're saying we've got, we might have 4 different contacts pages. Being able to start, for me, is a revolution in itself. Is that just streamline to continue to bring our page count down. I mean, we got down from something like 14,000 down to 5,000, and you're getting streamlining that information and the workflow. But the other thing as well is bringing forward the workflow. We're moving from basic level matrix editing now to advanced user levels. We've got teams doing that. So the real dream ticket for me is when we start to see teams of colleagues who really know their stuff with this. We have drop-in sessions on once a week with colleagues as well for Matrix. They come in and in person, and we work with them. We're running, Q&As, we're planning Q&As and stuff like that with some. So we're trying to build a community around it and around the technology. And I think that for me as well is again, there's the external facing, but the internal facing sort of revolution and evolution that we're trying to look to.
Yeah, no, I think the way that your team have adopted Matrix has been absolutely incredible to watch. So some of them I think might know better than me. Well, certainly more than me. But anyway, they've done a smashing job, and sometimes I feel like they don't even need us sometimes when we're doing new projects and some of that phase 2 work, because they hit the ground running and they've been doing a fantastic job. So
Thanks.
Kudos to them. But anyway, Mick, thank you so much for taking the time out with me. And looking forward to 2023 and achieving some of those amazing goals and aspirations. So thank you so much for your time, and I'll catch up with you soon. Thank you.